Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to thank everyone for your patience while we were just sorting out some technical issues. And I want to welcome you to our third monthly webinar with the Muslim Council of Britain and some of our leading Muslim organizations that specialize in various Muslims with special needs or different abilities. My name is Dr. Wajid Akhtar. I'm a GP, but I'm also the Assistant Secretary General for the Muslim Council of Britain. And alhamdulillah, throughout the COVID crisis, we've had many opportunities to work together in ways that we've never worked before. And I know that COVID has been a time which is full of a lot of difficulties, heartache, and tragedies for many people, but there have been some benefits. And one of the benefits that I have seen is that when the mosques were closed, when we weren't able to communicate or meet up with our loved ones as we would like to have, we finally understood what a large group of people in the world go through on a daily basis. Because there are many barriers out there to communication. There are many barriers to getting involved for Muslims from different organizations or different communities, and even non-Muslims as well. And unless we've gone through even a little bit of what they've gone through, we cannot really understand what it must be like for them every day, pandemic or no pandemic. So it is in that spirit that we've tried to put on these webinars to try and educate each other so that we know a little bit more about such an important and vibrant part of our community. I want to begin by welcoming our panel. The chair of Deaf Muslim UK, Brother Owais Murad, and we have also Brother Khalid Ashraf and Brother Ben Lampert, all of them from Deaf Muslim UK, who will be sharing with us their experiences, and I will invite them to introduce themselves in a second. I also want to thank Rachel Shora, who has very kindly agreed to provide professional BSL services so that we can communicate today. Thank you so much, Rachel. So let's begin by going to Brother Owais Murad and asking him to kindly tell us a little bit about himself so that we can learn. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Owais.
Assalamu alaikum, peace to all of you. It's lovely to be here this evening, and it's great to see you here. My name is Owais Murad, and I am the chairperson of Deaf Muslim UK. And along with my colleague Khalid Ashraf and Ben Lampert, who is the team manager. Deaf Muslim UK are very glad to be here this evening. We are extremely appreciative of the invitation. We have been working together for a long time, and going back a long way, I have been advocating and communicating with the Muslim Council of Britain about the access needs of deaf Muslims, and we have been working together well, and I am very glad for the invitation to be here tonight. It's fantastic, and we are really glad about the disability group which has been set up. Deaf Muslims, along with all members of the deaf community, face a great deal of access problems and discrimination, but we want to put that aside and start a new story, a fresh chapter, working together. just explain that my father, Owais Murad, himself is a well-known Islamic scholar, well-known throughout the world, so some of you may recognise his name. And also my brother, Owais Murad. He was the he has been involved in public life a lot and was the former Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Britain over several years. So again, people might recognise his name. And being part of such an inquisitive and scholarly family, I joined them and I've been on my own journey. I would like to pass over to my colleague Khalid to introduce himself.
Thank you so much.
Salam everyone. My name is Khalid and I am the CEO of Deaf Muslim UK, and it's great to be here tonight with you all. And it's wonderful when organisations have the opportunity to learn from each other. I became involved with Deaf Muslim UK from the beginning in 1994, and it's one of my passions. I have also worked professionally in various fields, a graphic artist, architecture, access consultant, and an ITV on-screen interpreter for many years, and now I am a freelance consultant. And I would like to add that Owais and I are the first deaf Muslims to gain an MA in Islamic studies, the first in the world. I don't think any other deaf brothers or sisters have achieved that, so that is something of which we are very thankful. And I bring my skills and experience from my professional life to my work at Deaf Muslim UK. And I will now pass over to my colleague Ben to introduce himself. He works incredibly hard. He's been with the team for 5 years, and I'll hand over to him. Ben. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you. My name is Ben Lampert, and I joined Deaf Muslim UK 5 years ago. I'm the team manager, been in that role for 5 years, and prior to that I was regularly attending a lot of the lectures and events about Islam because I was very attracted and had a very huge impact on my life, and so I became a Muslim and then joined Deaf Muslim UK, and I'm passionate about being involved, about access, education, and seeing communication and barriers broken down for deaf and hearing Muslims alike, and that's one of the reasons that I am so passionately involved. And I also work as a sports coach. I work for Brentford football club. I've worked there for 12 years now as a sports coach. And I have been involved as a player several years ago in the Great British Deaf football team. I've been to the Deaf Olympics, the World Cup, the European Cup, and over 600 matches, and one of the first people to break the record for caps in history for the Deaf football team. So I hope you will enjoy our Deaf Muslim UK presentation, and we are so grateful for the opportunity to be here. Khalid, over to you.
Thank you so much for the introductions. I'm very grateful that you are all here because, to be honest, you know, I think we are going to learn a lot more than anyone else. I had a question. So you're all amazing individuals, mashallah, but you have something in common, which is Deaf Muslim UK. What is Deaf Muslim UK? Is it just an association where Muslims who are deaf get to meet each other, or does it do other activities?
Thank you, Wajid. I will explain. So first of all, just to explain a little bit about, about our journey and how we came to be set up. That was a really good question. So Deaf Muslim UK, we are passionate about accessible information for all deaf Muslims, and we started in 1994 because, gosh, it makes me feel old to think that we've been going that long. We started in 1994, and we are the first national organisation in the UK to be providing accessible materials and accessible services for deaf Muslims. There have been a few others pop up since then, but we were the first, and we are the first deaf Muslim organisation in the world to be run by deaf people ourselves, to be deaf-led. Because across the world there are other deaf Muslim organisations, but often they are run by hearing people, and there is sometimes an attitude of, oh, let us help you, you're not able to do this for yourselves, we will help you. So this is the first deaf-led organisation, and I think that's really important because it shows that we are equal, that we can do things, that once the barriers are out of the way, that everything can run smoothly. And we do not need help, we just need access. So the aim of Deaf Muslim UK is to educate, empower and enable deaf people to achieve their full potential. That's our aim, that's what we want to see. And we also work together with the Muslim Council of Britain. As Owais explained a little bit, he has been involved with the council for a long time, and we talked to the council about deaf awareness, and they had a really positive attitude to that and said that was something they would like to know more about. So we are very grateful for their positive attitude. Now, would you like to ask more questions as we go, or shall I just carry on talking? What would be the best way?
As you wish. I mean, I was going to ask a question, and I don't know whether one of yourself or somebody else would like to take it.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Activities. So, because this is fantastic. The fact that it's deaf-led, I think, is something I didn't think about. I don't know if many of us thought about that. It's different if it's led by people who understand the needs, and it gives a different, I'm sure for other deaf Muslims, it gives them a lot of confidence. So this is very, very useful information. What activities does DMUK do?
Before I talk about activities, just to say, yes, about being deaf-led, I think it's really important to show a role model for other deaf Muslims to see, okay, because there are plenty of deaf people who are patronised, who are perhaps taught and led to believe that they're not going to achieve very much, and that they shouldn't even aim to achieve very much. But when they can see other deaf people just living a normal life, I think it's very empowering. So that's one of the reasons it's important to be deaf-led. So just to explain a little bit more about why we were set up, and then that I think that will lead on to activities. So we started the organisation really because, as you will know, as hearing Muslims, you can access so much, but deaf people, Muslim and non-Muslim, just face barriers every day in trying to access any kind of information, in trying to access education, information that we can understand. Everything is oral in this hearing world, and hearing people can chat, can read in their first languages, can be involved in so many different debates, can access scholars and schools and classes. And so many deaf Muslims have complete barriers to understanding their own faith, to accessing community events, families, brothers and sisters can't sign, and so there's a great deal of isolation and unfortunately a great lack of understanding about their faith through no fault of their own. And this means that many deaf Muslims become frustrated because they can't access, they have no knowledge, they don't have the ability to reason and to understand. So in 1994, prior to us setting up in 1994, I noticed that quite a lot of deaf Muslims were being influenced into other social ways of life, perhaps different faiths, no faith, because they were not able to access Islam. The beauty and the truth of Islam was not accessible for them, and I thought this was such a sorrow. And Owais was explaining a little bit, it was like a dark period where deaf people just were not able to find anything out about our faith. And our own Muslim identity. We couldn't be part of the community, we couldn't be with our brothers and sisters. And so we saw that and we set up Deaf Muslim UK to bring light into this darkness so that we can see the beauty that is in our faith and be fully part of it. So from 1994 to now, we continue to grow in numbers. Many people access our presentations, both Muslims and non-Muslims alike. And some of those non-Muslims then go on to become Muslims, as Ben is an example of that. Somebody who was just really interested and because the information was accessible was able to come along and convert. We have over 300,000 people who follow us on social media, which is a great number and growing all the time. And we want to see that continue to grow. So we do a lot of social media. We have about 8,000 followers on social media at the moment, which is really good and something that we are constantly working on. Now you asked me, Wajid, about activities. I'd like to show you our website, www.deafmuslimuk.org, just to show you some of the things. I think you have that ready. Is that right? Are you able to show that?
Yes, I'm bringing it up right now. So I'm going to share my screen, and this screen will show the new website, I have to say,
Yes.
of Deaf Muslim UK. And do you want to talk us through it, Brother Khalid? So it's got contacts and news and media, lots of different areas.
If you go down,
yeah. And latest
to
updates.
see the menu, yeah.
And then there's a translation here.
You can see, yeah. Keep going. Yep. Oh, that's the one of the top. Sorry, if you just stop there a moment. That's one of the top priorities. The translation of the Quran into British Sign Language. Sorry, if you go to the top bar, Wajid, the top bar.
This one?
Yeah. So about us, yeah. Where it says about us, yeah, there we go. So these are the different organisations who we so I'll just explain a little bit about that. Can you just show Khalid Spotlight again?
Yes. I think it may be, it might be difficult to spotlight at the same time as is this because I'm sharing the screen, I can't spotlight and share screen at the same time?
Oh, it's fine.
Okay.
No worry. I think people can see me. Okay, there are 4 different organisations that you can see there. Previously, there was a Muslim Deaf Group. and then Muslim Deaf UK, which became Deaf Muslim UK, and that's our new iteration. And if you go back to About Us, our trustees, that's right, and just, yeah, there's Owais, myself, Farouk, Kerry, and then if you continue, there's projects. Yeah. The translation, the BSL translation. Yeah, perfect. If you can find Surah 103. And I think there is sound on there if you're able to make that work. Thank you. And then if you go back, yeah, go back to Islamic stories and go down. The lady presenter there, yeah. Maybe if you go in the middle of that one just to show a little bit. Perfect, thank you. Okay, that's fine, lovely. Just wanted to show a little example of what it was. Thank you. Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It was.
I just wanted to show you that so that you can see on the website we have a lot of organisations, we have a lot of links. The Quran Translation Project is one of our main projects, and really we are the first independent organisation to attempt this, to attempt the translation, and we are bringing in a high quality of translators, interpreters and technology, unlike any other organisation has ever attempted. Other deaf organisations have not been able to do this, but for us, because we are deaf-led, because this is our experiences and our lives, we've been able to work together with deaf people, and I believe bring resources which are more valuable. So Owais and Ben and I, working together with other colleagues and brothers and sisters. So I myself worked for ITV for many years as an interpreter and on-screen translator, so I have the presentation skills. I've been involved in over 1,500 programmes, over 206 different titles. So all of that has a big impact on the quality of the resources that we're able to provide. So, any more questions?
I just want to.
Oh, Owais wanted to say something, I think. Are you okay?
Yes, I'll bring Owais. And I just want to say thank you so much for that. It was very enlightening. I'll bring in Brother Owais, and please continue, Brother Owais. Yeah.
Thank you, Khalid. And just to add to that, we were set up in 1994, And we've grown and grown and grown since then, and new projects have come along and word has got out about us, which is brilliant, and we just love to see more and more happening and more people becoming involved. And also at Deaf Muslim UK, we want to educate. I think that's one of our main aims. We want to educate because that is something that's very rare. There are other organisations, but we want to bring in deaf education, and we believe that is best done by deaf people themselves. So that is something we're passionate about. We think that's very important.
Thank you so much. I had a question, Brother Owais, and if you could tell us a little bit more about what are the challenges that you've noticed deaf Muslims have faced. Accessibility, definitely, we understand. Are there any other challenges that many of us would not be aware of in the day-to-day life, or especially in the Muslim community?
Khalid would like to reply, if that's okay.
Sure. I'll just. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I think the difficulties and challenges for deaf Muslims, in my experience, one of the main issues is communication at home, or lack of within the family. That's a massive issue and a massive problem. And, really, those of us who are deaf Muslims, there is nothing wrong with us. It is just the barrier that is the problem. We have sign language, we have a full language, we have a full culture. The problem is just accessibility. And there are thousands and thousands of Muslim organisations and thousands of mosques, and they are not accessible to deaf people. So we would ask you, we would challenge you to think about providing access, to provide interpreters so that your deaf brothers and sisters can be included and can benefit, rather than being sidelined and isolated, but to be supported and to be part of the community, in community life and in religious life. Maybe you could think about booking an interpreter so that deaf people are welcome and can access, because I'm sure, as you can imagine, it's like being a lost sheep, the only one, when all these, and then wolves come along and they pick off the lost sheep, because the lost sheep is vulnerable without knowledge and without being part of the community. So it's better to be part of the community and to have understanding. And perhaps you could invite me or one of my other colleagues from Deaf Muslim UK to come and to talk about our experience and to educate about deaf awareness. A lot of deaf people, we have very similar experiences, because we have a strong deaf identity, and really, in terms of Muslim and non-Muslim, we have similar experiences to our other to other deaf people, even though they aren't Muslims, because of the access and communication problems.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I had a question. Oh, sorry.
Owais would like to come in?
Sure. And then after that, I have a question for Brother Ben. But Brother Owais first.
As Khalid has explained, as deaf people, we do not see that we are people who are faulty or somehow lesser. The access, the disability, for us, it is not the same as those who perhaps are not able to, don't have mobility, or have another condition. For us, it's different, because our only issue is that our language is not accessible, that this is a hearing world based on an oral language. But we do have a language, and it's a full language. The barrier is just in terms of access. So I just wanted to add that. I hope that's clear. That was our view.
That's a very, very good point. Thank you so much. And it's something for, I think, the rest of us to also change the way we think. Like you said, it's not a disability, it's a different ability, maybe. Brother Ben, I was going to ask you as the manager, if you could give us a little bit more ideas. We saw on the website some of the activities. What other activities does Deaf Muslim UK do at the moment? As many of the people in the audience are very interested, what activities, yeah.
Yes, everything is there on the website, and we have a lot of lectures. We have annual activities. We have annual get-togethers. It's really obviously not through COVID times, but it's great to have the opportunity to catch up and to share and to support each other face to face. So those are very important events. And we plan for the future. Yeah, and the Hajj. We have we put before plan for Hajj. Once a month we have an interpreter brought into a mosque in London so that the event is accessible. And we have various videos of people travelling which are accessible so that people can see different experiences and opportunities.
Thank you so much.
I think Khalid would like to add.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Just like to add to that the Quran Translation Project the Quran Translation Project, the clip that we showed you, I just wanted to explain a little bit about how we have been looking for the quality, because it's not easy to produce something like that, how to sign the text, and that's something which has been, my experience in ITV has been very valuable about trying to think how to present. It's not just a matter of off we go, simple. It's we have to look for the quality and the understanding of the text and how to present that in British Sign Language. So somebody asked a question in the chat box talking about hard of hearing people and cochlear implant users, if they are welcome to be involved. It would really depend very much on their own identity. So Deaf Muslim UK, we are mostly British Sign Language users, and so a lot of people who are hard of hearing or who have had a cochlear implant for most of their lives would not necessarily identify as a British Sign Language user. They would maybe identify as hard of hearing and they would access spoken language. So they would certainly be welcome, but obviously at Deaf Muslim UK, one of our main priorities is providing access through BSL. So it would be a matter that would be up for them if that was something they wanted.
I have another question. I'm not sure who on the panel would like to take this. Is there a specific challenge that you get as deaf Muslims that are different to other people who are deaf who are not Muslim? Any specific challenges apart from reading the Quran or maybe khutbah in the masjid or the sermon in the masjid? Any other specific challenges? Does anyone want to take it? I don't want to assume it's just Brother Khalid. Yeah, Brother Khalid, go ahead.
I think it really is more for deaf people in general, yes, because sign language, British Sign Language, is the main point at which access breaks down for us. I would say that would be quite a general, those would be quite general barriers. So it'd be communication, deaf awareness, just people who do not understand what it is to be deaf and what that means. So I invite people to follow us on Deaf Muslim UK, the audience, and anybody who watches this clip later. Please please ask your local MP, please lobby your local MP about the BSL Act. This is a law that we've been lobbying for a long time and which the English government has been very slow to enact, saying that we want the language to be in schools and in education. Scotland have got a BSL Act, and that means that deaf people there have a lot more power and they have more rights to access in their own language. And so this is something we've been lobbying for in England for a long time, which the English government are behind. The Welsh, it's similar to acts for people who speak Welsh. It's kind of a protection and an empowerment of the language, so that BSL could be part of the curriculum, so that deaf BSL users would have rights to access services in their own language. And we really want to see people working together. We don't want people to segregate. We would like hearing people to support us. And perhaps in 10 years' time, we can see more and more and more mixing of deaf and hearing people. Deaf awareness is really important. I would recommend to all of you to go to deaf awareness training, deaf awareness courses, because I think you will understand a lot about deaf culture, and that will help you in working together with your deaf brothers and sisters. So a lot of what we hear as deaf people is, oh, you can't, oh, that's a shame, oh, poor you can't talk, you can't hear, you have a deficit, this is what you can't do, this is your impairment. But really for us that is not the case. We just see ourselves as fully human, and it's just that we have a visual language. So I would ask you, audience, to never say to a deaf person, oh, can you hear at all? Can you speak at all? Oh, you poor thing. That can even be seen as a little bit offensive, even though I'm sure it is well meant. Because then the focus is on the impairment and what we can't do rather than who we are and what we can do. So I would also ask you to try and support our organisation and to promote understanding and working together between deaf Muslims and hearing Muslims. Perhaps also if you could follow us on social media, you'd all be very welcome to be part of that. That would be a fantastic thing to do. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I wanted to ask if there was any final points. I know this is a short and hopefully not the last meeting we have, but I wanted to ask if there was any final points, especially as you all are here as experts in this field. If there was something that you wish that we knew as people who don't know BSL, and who are not as aware of the deaf Muslim community, what would you want us to know, or what would you like us to do? Maybe I'll start with Brother Owais, if that's okay, and then I'll go around to all of you to make the point.
Sorry, there was just a little problem with the camera there, so I'm just going to recap. I think to Asian communities, to Muslim brothers and sisters, to Black ethnic minorities, I think there are a high percentage of hearing people who think that when somebody is born deaf, oh, that is a terrible thing, and it is a punishment from God. And that is not something that is true. Here I am. I have a language, I had a life, and I wish that hearing people could understand that when a baby is born deaf, that is not a punishment, that is not a loss, that is just a difference. And to change the mindset to be accepting of that difference. And also, I would really love hearing people to go on deaf awareness courses so that they had an empathy and an understanding. I think those would be my two main points. Thank you. And also for mosques around the country, I would really like to see an attitude change and an attitude improvement to access for deaf people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Brother Ben, just going to spotlight you. Is there anything that you would like people to, is there anything that you would like people to do to help support Deaf Muslim UK?
Oh, there are so many things. There are so many things. I think to pick one, I wish that hearing people would understand that we are the same. That when they meet a deaf person, not to be scared, but just to try and adjust, perhaps just maybe to gesture a little bit, to be confident, and then it will become a habit. We know that hearing people don't know sign language necessarily, but you can gesture, you can use facial expression, and communication can grow and can be smooth. So that's what I wish, that hearing people would be confident and would just just go for it, just accept deaf people and try and communicate together. And there are lots of courses. Deaf Muslim UK have courses, and there are lots of other courses around Britain, but sometimes in the real world, of course, you're shopping or you just bump into somebody, you're traveling. We don't expect every hearing person to have been on a BSL course, but if they just had a positive attitude, be nice to each other, be open, and maybe at Ramadan, at the fast, at night, in the mosque when we're celebrating, that would be lovely to have deaf and hearing mixed together rather than be isolated. Find a deaf brother or sister and we can communicate, we can be together. And that's wonderful. There are so many ways that we can do it and work around it. And I wish that hearing people would just be more confident and open with that we are together.
Thank you. And finally, Brother Khalid, any final words from yourself before we close for the evening?
I think my brothers have covered most things. Yeah, it's just about trying to walk in each other's shoes and having a loving and positive attitude towards one another. I would perhaps just repeat support for the BSL Act. If you could contact your local MP and talk about that, because that will have such a positive impact. I went to America with my son a few years ago, and the attitude in America is brilliant to deaf people compared to here in the UK. Here in the UK, the attitude is still quite patronising, quite paternalistic, whereas in America, when I went to shops, when I went round and about, hearing people would just sign. I mean, it may have been basic gestures, but it was just a lovely, lovely attitude. Pointing, helping, being expressive, approaching me without being scared. every day I was seeing that with hearing people in America, and that was wonderful. So to just really see that's possible, and in England, I don't think that has ever happened. Whereas in America, it was every day. So it's definitely something that can be aspired to. So please have a look at the Milan Congress as well. I think that's a very important event in deaf history. That was when sign language was banned and oral education was promoted as the only way forward. So that's just something to mention for those of you who are more interested. And it's not that I'm against oral education or speech. I myself use both, and I think that's brilliant, but we need access to both. So since the 1880 Milan Congress, that did a lot of damage. That's just something I mentioned that has affected the deaf community a lot. So yeah, America have a brilliant attitude, and I would really like to see us in England catching up with that. And it's a lot about attitude and mindset. So yeah, BSL Act, please contact your MPs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful to you all for your time, and I'm very grateful to you all for giving us the opportunity to learn as well. I want to finish by saying that I was surprised, because when I was asking what are the main points that you want us to take away, of course, I was expecting BSL, I was expecting maybe contacting the MPs, deaf awareness course, but the most common thing is the respect and the enthusiasm with which we communicate with each other, even if we don't know BSL. That seems to be a common thing. And if we can start there and we can bridge that divide so that as a community, we can be really one community properly, inshallah. I want to thank the brothers from Deaf Muslim UK, Brother Khalid, Brother Ben, Brother Owais for their time today. And I want to thank Rachel, obviously. Thank you so much for your time and effort. Until we learn BSL, we're very grateful for your help as well. And thank you to everyone who's been here and attending. We will be sharing this on the MCB YouTube channel within the next few days, I hope. And we'll be putting it out on our social media. If you have any questions, please do contact us, admin@mcb.org.uk. Next month, we will be talking to Birds of Paradise, who will be speaking to us about the importance of having a special educational needs madrasa in every community. But for now, thank you so much, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Take care.